My name is Brian Critchfield. I head up all the digital marketing at ON Semiconductor. Have been in marketing for about 25 years, in digital for about 20 of those. At ON Semiconductor, we're a Fortune 500 company. We're a top manufacturer of semiconductors. The industry that we're in, we make all the pieces and parts for all of the electronic devices that you're familiar with, from smartphones to autonomous driving vehicles, industrial robotics. We make, there's lots of different industries that we play in. And what we do is we sell these pieces and parts to design engineers that are manufacturing those products, and we try and get them to spec our products into their next project. So that's our whole goal at ON Semiconductor, is to convince design engineers to use our products in their electronic design. With ON Semiconductor, we have been in business for about 20 years. It was a spin-off of Motorola back in the late 90s. Has gone through several acquisitions and built up to a larger business. When I joined about 2.5 years ago. We were doing marketing like most of the industry was doing, which was running banner ads on publisher sites, is the majority of what it is that we did. So when I joined, we did some analysis around what that cost per conversion model was for that, or cost per conversion was for that model. What we found was very, very interesting. ON Semiconductor is a global company, so across the globe we would measure for each region. We saw as high as close to $5,000 cost per conversion, all the way down to about $70 cost per conversion. So what that means is it was costing us roughly $5,000 to get somebody in Japan to download a data sheet on our website. So that was obviously a very big red flag for us, something that we needed to solve that problem. So that was, one of the first things that I did in joining the company, is set about trying to solve that particular problem. So when I first started at ON Semiconductor, a lot of our effort was around running banner ads on publisher websites. Today we have much more of a multi-channel approach, where everything from programmatic to paid search, paid social, native advertising, all around trying to get this multi-touch approach to get somebody to come to our website and convert. This is the interesting thing about it. Back in the late 60s, you could run a commercial on all three major networks and get 80% of the women. That level of targeting didn't exist for a long time, especially as channels started to kind of explode, and we had so many different channels out there. And for a while, I want to reach 24-year-old men that like golf. You run an ad on the golf channel. There's so much better ways that we have today of being able to target somebody, that's not only just demographic based, but psychographic based, interest based, behaviorally based. There's all kinds of different ways that we can target now because of tools like Programmatic. We've been working with Genius Monkey for roughly about 2 years. The challenge that we had was that we would run these ads on publisher websites. And so you'd have EE Tech or All About Circuits or all of these engineering-based websites. We'd place an ad on that website, and then we'd wait for engineers to come to the website. And our cost per conversions were astronomical. The CPMs were astronomical because, again, they have this dedicated audience that they can charge for. Our move to programmatic was really about, how do we not just place ads and wait for them to come to us, but how do we follow them wherever they go? How do we target exactly the audience that we want? It's much more efficient for our spend, because even being a big company, our advertising spend is not commensurate with that, right? It's not this giant spend that we have. So how do we be much more efficient, much more targeted with our spend by following them around wherever they go, and not just touch them once when they come to the publisher's website, but how do we touch them multiple times as they go throughout that customer journey? That was our move to Genius Monkey and to Programmatic. The first year that I joined ON Semiconductor and we started to make this evolution, all of our regions converted over to Programmatic using Genius Monkey except for China. China wanted to continue to use the publisher route. And in general, I would tell you that China's more effective at that than the other regions were. They were the lowest cost per conversion of all the regions. So I could understand that. We made that agreement. Sure, we'll continue to spend with the publishers. But after that first year and they saw the results we were getting in programmatic in the other regions, they're like, okay, we'll move over. So it took some convincing, it took some numbers and some data. And not only that, but China's traditionally a difficult market to compete in. It's difficult to get access to publishers in China. It's difficult to advertise there in general. We've had some challenges with it overall, but Genius Monkey was able to find specific publishers, find specific networks that we could advertise on that have been extremely successful for us in China. So that I think is another one too, as well as we evolved the company overall. It took some convincing, but the data was there and you could see it plainly. Campaign strategy wise, we were broken into 3 of our major segments, market segments: automotive, industrial and cloud power, and then IoT. The interesting thing about those is now you've got, within each segment, we've got to target them by region. And it's all about how do I get to the right people at the right time with the right message. And so now this message I've got is highly targeted. I want design engineers in the automotive segment in Japan who are working on these specific projects. So it gets very specific about that targeting. And Genius Monkey is very good about finding those targets, number one, but then helping us with the split testing aspect of it. So I'm going to run maybe 4 sets of ads to that particular group, figure out which one's doing the best, and then we start to evolve away from the ones that are underperforming to the ones that are doing well. And that, I think, has been a big part of the optimization process for us, is finding which of these messages resonate with these audiences that we're able to reach through our targeting. First of all, we did see an instant impact as soon as we started using Genius Monkey. You saw it in our traffic. I would also tell you that in any sort of digital campaign, you have to have that one key metric that you measure. For us, it's cost per conversion. I think impressions are good, cost per clicks are good, CPMs are good, all of that's good. It tells part of the data story, but there has to be one that you focus on. And for us, that's cost per conversion. And as I told you in the beginning, that was roughly $2,000–3,000 when you measure it globally, our cost per conversion, running banner ads on publisher sites. We had to improve that. Naturally, we had to improve that. So when we started with Genius Monkey, our number's roughly $8 cost per conversion, which is still quite good for a programmatic campaign. Normally banners being upper funnel, they're going to be kind of a higher cost per conversion. So at being $8 roughly cost per conversion, that's huge out of the gate. So that was our first month. Today, 2 years later, we're under $1 in that cost per conversion. So it continues to improve. That's the one thing I love about the team at Genius Monkey, is they're constantly optimizing, constantly improving. They'll come to us and say, let's run this ad over that ad. Let's run this channel over that channel. It's not me constantly saying, how can we improve? How can we get better? Which is a challenge I've had with other vendors, most vendors in the past. Genius Monkey is constantly improving. So that's a huge difference between $8 down to less than $1 in your cost per conversion, which again is our key metric. B2C industries, I think, are a little easier when it comes to targeting. You're targeting people based on their consumer behaviors, certain demographics, psychographics. In our industry, we're a highly B2B industry. And I think that's a challenge when it comes to targeting. You're targeting people based on their profession, based on what it is they do, as well as demographics and psychographics. We've created a set of personas at ON Semiconductor, and we really focus on 2 key personas. Number one, we call the problem solver, which is an engineer that has an immediate problem they're trying to solve. I'm trying to get better battery life. I'm trying to, improve my connectivity. I need, a Bluetooth module that maybe is lower energy so that I can drain less battery. Whatever the problem is they're trying to solve on that project, that's one persona that we target. That's one of our primary personas. The second persona which we target is one we call the creator, which is more of your system architect or your product manager that's looking down the road going, what's the next version of our product going to be? and what type of features does it need to have. So those two personas are who we're trying to target. These are design engineers, so highly targeted, highly specific. And then you add geography on top of that. So you're talking about, how do I target a design engineer in the automotive industry that's working on the next version of an autonomous driving vehicle in Japan, right? So now you've got this layer of targeting here that's very, very specific, and it can be very difficult to target that type of person in any channel. But specifically with banners, it gets to be very difficult, which is why in this industry, a lot of people have defaulted to just running banners on these publisher websites. I know engineers go to this website, so I'm just gonna put a banner there. I think what Genius Monkey has done has proven that we can go after these highly targeted markets, highly specific markets, and be effective at doing that and driving conversions on our website from that. I got into teaching roughly 10 years ago. I had just gotten done with my master's program. And after going through that much schooling, I realized that marketing education sucks. It's really quite terrible. And a lot of it is because they're teaching the past or the history. And I believe that there are eternal principles in marketing, principles like positioning and audience segmentation and all of those things that don't change. But how we go to market has changed so significantly. I tell my students actually that marketing has changed more in the last 5 years than it had in the previous 50. It's evolving so quickly and it's changing so quickly. So I started my teaching at University of Phoenix, and then I grew to Grand Canyon University, where I teach quite a bit there. I've taught at Westminster College and a few other places too as well. I've done some lectures at Boise State University up in Boise, and I've done some different things along those lines. But from my perspective, which with all of the changes and everything that's happening today, the very first day of class with my students, the first thing I tell them is, if you learn nothing else from this class, I want you to walk away with the concept of positioning, which is your ability to create a unique position in the mind of the consumer. And that all starts with audience. And so that's, I think, the biggest challenge that most of my students face is they see all of these bells and whistles and all of these tools out there. And there's Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok now and all of these. I even have clients that have come to me in the past and say, what's our Snapchat strategy? Don't do it. And that's the biggest challenge is, my response to them is always, who's your audience? And that's the key. Within marketing, it always starts with audience. So once I'll draw this diagram out when the first day of class. And I say, first of all, it starts with, what is it that you do that's unique, that's different from everybody else? And then you find a specific audience that cares about that. And I think that's, tying that back into the work we do with Genius Monkey, they're probably better than anybody I've seen, at least in the programmatic space, at finding where that audience is and where they get their information from. I'll be honest with you, I was never a believer in banner ads. Even though I sold them, I was never a huge believer in banner ads until I ran into Genius Monkey, and their ability to target has kind of renewed my faith and my interest in utilizing the not just banner ads, but the ability to target people where they go. I think that they're extremely effective at it. So now that I've identified what makes me unique, I can leverage somebody like a Genius Monkey to tell my audience about it. Genius Monkey is a good mix of both digital communication as well as personal communication. First of all, the reporting that comes from your system on a regular basis is extremely helpful. It automatically comes to us, or we can log in and automatically pull it real time. So that's been a huge help, but we do have regular contact with the team at Genius Monkey. We're constantly talking to the team on how to optimize and improve, but also back up a little bit too as well, and share something that might not be as apparent. Genius Monkey does one thing very well. It does programmatic, does it very well. I come from the agency business. Most agencies out there are general contractors, meaning that they are, they take care of strategy and all that kind of stuff, but then they bring in experts from other fields, whether independent contractor or partnering to actually execute on a campaign. There's very few agencies that have everything in-house under one roof. And so they're constantly going, we can do programmatic for you. Hey, we'll do programmatic for you. It's constantly this thing of, hey, we can take over programmatic. I always said, Genius Monkey is always our programmatic provider because, again, I've tried banner ads, I've tried this and nobody can perform like Genius Monkey can. But the other aspect of that too, as well, is Genius Monkey plays very well in the sandbox with others. So we'll have meetings where we'll have all of our agencies on along with Genius Monkey to talk through, here's our strategy for this year. And Genius Monkey is always really good at supporting the other agencies, at supporting our team, and how can we work better together to just ultimately improve results in the end. I don't get any of that, oh, we'll do that for you, or this is, not made here mentality, right? This is don't touch what we're doing here. They've always been very good at playing well with others.